Okay.
This is a new day. This is a new day full of sound and light and expectation. This day has been waiting for you. This day has been waiting just for you. This is the day we have been given. Let's not waste it. Come now and let us worship together. So good to be here. So good to see all of you here in person, all of you via Zoom. So wonderful. This is a different experience. I don't know if you're feeling that. We are part of a dynamic movement of history. And I expect it's going to change and keep changing. And we are participating in that dynamic movement right now. So feel that. Feel how this is different. Feel how we have people simultaneously on Facebook Live and Zoom across the world, zooming in and part of our community. Feel what it's like to have TV screens, music, masks. It's going to feel different. Let that sink in. And we're not done. I don't think this will be the final product. We're going to experiment, and we're going to see what works, and we're going to alter as we go. One thing that will be shifting, a couple things that will be different. One is the offertory will be a time for the people who are live here to meditate on what you want your offering to be, and you will actually give your offering as you leave in the plate, so we don't have to pass it around to everybody. Another shift is that there won't be a traditional greeting line. So I'm not going to be leaving the service and holding you up at the door. I will be here if you want to speak to me. And we're starting small. So we're starting with just the service, and we're hoping that you stay connected to each other. Feel free to talk to each other and make your way out. We have lots of outdoor space where you can talk with each other, and we're eventually hoping we can transition into some kind of coffee hour. Even though we don't have coffee, we'll be drinking, but we'll be using Channing Hall, we hope, at some point. But for now, we're just going to start with just the service, just so you know. So we have a lot of really cool things happening at this church. One thing I want to highlight is that it is our annual pledge drive. I think that's very cool. I'm very grateful to our stewardship team who have made that happen. There are pledge flyers and pledge cards that are being passed out today by Elizabeth White. And if you wish to make your pledge today, you can return the form directly to the office. Yes, Sarah Kane is there, also Louisa. And if you need to ask about raising your pledge, that's fine too. We'll give you an envelope if you want time to think about how much you want to raise your pledge, and then you can mail it back to us. Also, via Zoom and the talents of actors in Portland, Oregon, and my beautiful wife, Jennifer Ruth Boyd, we're going to have a wonderful Zoom production of the Thanksgiving play happening on Saturday, November 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm just going to read you a little blurb. It's a wickedly funny satire from the award-winning playwright Larissa Fasthorse, Lakota playwright, who asked the question, how does one celebrate Thanksgiving and Native American Heritage Month at the same time? This is the question facing three woke white thespians tasked with devising an elementary school pageant about the first Thanksgiving while avoiding any culturally inappropriate missteps. It's a roast of the politics of entertainment and well-meaning political correctness. The Thanksgiving play puts the American origin story itself in the comedy crosshairs. It's very funny. It's very deep. It's a very deep play about what it means to be American, but it's very funny. And so I hope you join us for that. Again, it's going to be 8 p.m. November 20th, Saturday, via Zoom. You can join us on that. And last announcement, I want to share a beloved member, Larry Cummings, passed away this past week. Larry was a regular giver to this church for over 30 years, a solid member, and was very important to the lifeblood of this church, and he just passed away. I'm going to be leading his funeral service. Some of you might know him. The funeral service is going to be this Tuesday, 3 p.m. at Calcutta Chapel in Calcutta, Ohio, not India. I learned that. And that's going to be at 3 p.m., Tuesday at 3 p.m. And now I'd like to invite Kathleen Hogue. I know some of you haven't met her. She's our new Director of Religious Education. And she's going to share a couple announcements about religious education.
Good morning. So our first announcement is about next Sunday, November the 21st. We're going to have a little storytelling around the fire out on the patio at 4:30 on November the 21st, which is next Sunday. We hope you'll join us. We'll have some storytelling and some hot cocoa and some s'mores. And of course, social distancing and masks. And then the other announcement is today we are actually having a class downstairs. So after the time for all ages, kids can join me. I'll be out by the back door there. And so after the story time today, you can meet me there and we'll go downstairs for class. Thank you.
Good morning. I've never been comfortable with the word testimonial with respect to anything I have to say, so I'm thinking of this as what UUYO means to me, and I hope that's helpful to you in some way. I've been at UUYO for about 12 years. For over half that time, I've been on the board as treasurer and president, working through important decisions as we work to maintain a vibrant UU community. Since the end of my time on the board, I'm enjoying finding new ways to be a part of UUYO and have been leading the tech portion of the Zoom services since the start of the pandemic. Working regularly with our musicians, worship associates, Reverend Joseph, Louisa Berger, Sarah King, Tim next to me here, and Lola Lewis. I'm part of UUYO because the UU principles help me focus on what I want my life to mean to me and to the people who know me. Whoops, excuse me. There are many people at UUYO that I consider good friends who also find meaning in these principles, and that is what makes me want to live into these principles with all of you here at UUYO. Each week, Reverend Joseph and our lay ministers ring the singing bowl, tell me that I have been given a new day, then remind me not to waste it. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind of work and family responsibilities, then end up looking back to wonder where all that life went and what I did with it. It's also easy to let that day-to-day grind and the family responsibilities take my focus away from the UU principles as I focus on my own needs and wants. So the regular weekly reminders help me. In addition to taking part in governance and worship, I support UUYO through a pledge via monthly automatic contributions because I know firsthand what it takes to keep this organization going. And I'm happy to do my part. UUYO is blessed with our minister, RE director, and office administrator on staff to help us meet commitments to teach our children, youth, and adults, and to help support our congregation as we maintain a community of people who live out UU principles. This doesn't happen accidentally. It happens with the support in time and financial commitments of each one of us. Please join me in renewing or starting your regular financial support for this wonderful community as we work through our annual stewardship drive, and remember that UUYO only exists because we as a community have come together to make it what it is to all of us, as well as the beacon we want it to be to our local and worldwide community. To date, 23 pledges are in for a commitment of $59,250. There are over 70 pledges yet to come in. We started on November 1st, and our goal is to finish on November 24th. So the board has December for planning and budgeting. Our theme is You Are the Rock on which UUYO stands. Pledge cards were emailed on October 31st following the service and will be mailed at UUYO expense this week to those we have not heard from. Promoting full staffing and supporting our increased technology costs have led to the board increasing our goal from the $140,000 that we've had for the last several years to $154,000 this year. We're asking for a 10% increase in pledge amount for those who can, and the pledge card is also on the website. Thank you.
The Squirrel Manifesto, written by Rick and Jean Edelman, with pictures by Dave Zabosky. There is a forest not too far from here, where the warm winds blow for most of the year. It's in this fine place you'll learn something good from some critters in the Walkabout Wood. It's a land alive with infinite hues, a symphony of colors in red, yellows, and blues, where animals come and animals go, with hardly a care for Michelangelo. From dawn to dusk, and dusk to dawn, each awakens with joy and goes to sleep with a yawn. And while I may be small, perhaps you've heard, my name is Wren, and I'm your guide bird. I usually share in songs, not in words, every little thing in the language of birds. I know the secrets of every herd, hive, and clan. I watch with care as they work, live, and plan. The ants are fastidious, disciplined, and true. The beavers industrious, and the foxes shrewd. And of all the animals from the cliffs to the sea, there's one crazy bunch who knows how to be. Oh, they frolic and play and seem without a care, but they know a secret I'm emboldened to share. It's a singular truth I've noticed from above, how these creatures live with vision, charity, and love. I witnessed old Walden, who lives in the big tree, teach some young'uns how to gather and live free. Come with me, he cried. Let's leap and let's scramble from tree limb to tree top and down to the bramble, and I'll teach you some things you'll always remember from season to season September to September. To gather is great. A squirrel digs and he seeks, but don't hoard too much. It won't fit in your cheeks. This land is our home, these valleys and streams. We owe it our lives, our future, our dreams. Some of our boon goes back to the glade, so there's always a place for more young'uns to shade. We will honor the past and what's been done, and tend to the present for what it will become. Next, we take some nuts and we squirrel them away, so we have something for a cold, rainy day. If we just save a little, a couple nuts at a time, it leads to what matters, squirrel peace of mind. Next, we honor ourselves with the gains that we earn. We deserve a good life, so we enjoy our own turn. We put some of our flow back into the stream to add to the current and live what we dream. And lastly, I urge you to others give back. It is hard in this forest for all those who lack. Your life is a blessing of gifts precious and rare. You multiply the grace when you care and you share.
Lately, I've been
The
thinking
old
a lot
squirrel
about
looked up.
what
Then
commitment
he
means.
said, Presto! We live by these words. It's the Squirrel Manifesto.
I think it may be my time to speak, so I'm going to plunge in and let me know if I'm off program here. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about what commitment means. The word sort of scares me, to be honest, because it sounds so final, so resolved, like once you commit, there's no going back. But I remembered a passage from one of my Bibles for actors. It's a book called The Tao of Show Business, where author Dallas Travers beautifully describes the difference between commitment and attachment, saying that attachment is a clenched fist, clinging desperately to whatever small element might be within your grasp, while commitment is an open palm, ready to catch whatever miracles come your way. Attachment focuses too closely on how your dreams may come true, while commitment supports the vision itself with no concern about the ever-changing journey. You can't catch anything with a closed fist, so release your attachment to how your dreams will become reality and simply commit to the vision of your ideal scene and move toward that vision every single day. Now, she was speaking in terms of forging a creative acting career, but I think that applies to anything. Attachment is fixed, while commitment is more like a promise, a hope even. It says, you can count on me. Not, I will bend myself into a twisted shape to accommodate you, but I'm hoping you can count on me. I've been really moved by how UUYO has stepped up its commitment to its members, friends, and larger community since March 2020 by offering such a rich and lively virtual worship experience. In a time where so many of us felt our lives were compressed or shrinking during stay-at-home orders or our own intuition to scale back and stay safe, UUYO has extended an open palm of commitment to the spiritual well-being of its members, both longtime and brand new, and actually expanded its ability to support people in living a full life even in the midst of great uncertainties. Today, they extended that open palm again by opening the sanctuary to fully vaccinated members and friends to attend in person safely, wearing masks and observing safe distance. And yet, I can still participate virtually with full support, as can you if you choose. I light this chalice in commitment to release the clenched fist of limitation and fear, and to open my palms to possibility and hope. Now will you please recite with me the covenant of our church? Love is the spirit of this church and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Each month, we donate all loose cash and unmarked checks put in the offering plate to a nonprofit organization whose mission and actions are consistent with the UU principles and the mission of UUYO. For the month of November, our organization is the Community Volunteer Council. The mission of Community Volunteer Council is to volunteer services in our community, to be informed of and to inform the public of existing agencies and the services they offer, and to educate persons of their rights as residents in the state of Ohio, Trumbull County, and the city of Warren. The Community Volunteer Council, or CVC, was organized in September 1979 by Sadie Parks. Parks recognized the need for a strong group that would consist of members of all the churches in the community, both city and county. Since then, CVC has been devoted to helping the low-income families of Trumbull County for over 38 years. In the mid-1980s, a nucleus group of ladies was called together from local churches, and they gathered to make drapes for a nursing home. The women soon discovered they shared a passion for giving back to their community, and in particular, helping local families. What began as a small circle of church women soon evolved into the Community Volunteer Council and became a united effort by the women of the council to provide food, clothing, and household items for people in need. Each month, CVC distributes groceries to our Warren neighbors. Last year, CVC served 892 families through food distribution, and 1,453 clients shopped in the clothing center. The CVC also organizes special holiday events to give away meals and toys for children. If you're attending in person today, please reflect on your offering and put it in the plate after service as you leave. We will now receive the offering that supports the life of Youngstown, the Mahoning Valley, and our wider world.
It's been amazing standing up here and having meditation with myself and Tim Reardon. And all of you, I knew you were there, and I trusted that. But this feels nice. So let's meditate for a little bit in person, just silently, just feeling your breath, being grateful that you're alive. That's really the practice, being grateful that you're alive. Alive with everyone, not just yourself. Alive with everyone.
Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome, her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she, with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
It's really good to be here. It's really nice to be here on this beautiful November Sunday morning. The chill has just started. Can you feel that? Last few days? It's wonderful. It's really good to see familiar faces. I can recognize you all, everyone actually, even behind the masks. And it's really good to be with all of you via Zoom, via Facebook Live, via YouTube, all of you who are finding us locally and afar. You are also part of our community, and we love you. It's amazing the ways that we can feel connected in both particular and now global ways. And UUYO is a very particular community. Founded over 125 years ago, this congregation has shaped Unitarian Universalism and the religious and social environment of the world. This is not an overstatement. Out of this congregation, you've birthed 2 UUA presidents, thought leaders, activists, pillars of both America and the global scene in terms of ethics, leadership, and vision. I feel very fortunate to have come here. See, I'm going to let you all in on a little secret. A congregation shapes its minister as much, if not more, than a minister shapes the congregation. So I thought I would give you a little testimonial to begin. When I first came to this congregation, I knew I wanted to be a minister. After being tested, challenged, moving across the country multiple times, The calling still stuck. But I look back now, and I see that my vision of ministry, though grounded in some experience, was still just intellectual in a lot of ways. I knew how I wanted to live, but I wasn't sure what it really meant to live it. Have you had that experience? I don't know if you've had that experience. I knew how I wanted to be in the world, but I wasn't sure actually how that felt, to be like that in the world. I had a strong intellectual sense of what could be true, what could be possible, but I had yet to really fully test it. This congregation has become the place to test it. I don't know where it came from, but I sense that what made life worthwhile was not the circumstances we were given, not those alone, but the ways that we chose to engage those circumstances. I had a strong hunch that being the minister in this place, in this congregation, may give me some insight into what really mattered about being alive when all is said and done. And I have. I'm still learning, but there is some insight that has come thanks to all of you. I've done enough memorial service now to see that all that matters in the end is our relationship to other people, to life itself. The rest of our accomplishments are important in a biographical sense, but the lived reality of what really matters is the bonds we have with other people. Even our accomplishments, actually, in the end, are about other people. They can inspire, encourage, motivate. I also thought before coming here that there is an inherent goodness to life, an inherent goodness to being alive, even when circumstances fall apart, even when circumstances don't go according to our preferences. Again, this was mostly an intellectual idea before, but now I've felt it. Thanks to you. You've shown me that we're together in this. We're together when things go well. We're together when things fall apart. We're together through it all. And that makes life good. And that makes life joyful. It makes life meaningful. Because it's not just about me and my problems. We're together in these problems. We're in the same predicament, actually. On the surface, this may not seem like much great news. Intellectually, it may not sound very satisfying, but in lived experience, it's very satisfying. It makes life beautiful and poignant and rich. This congregation has a spirit that's very dynamic, very rich. It was there before I arrived. I don't take any credit for that. I've always felt good in this church. It always cheers me up, even when I come up here and do my job. It cheers me up. There's a natural buoyancy, humor, an unexpected quality that I quite enjoy. Jennifer gives me a hard time because I like being surprised. I really get a kick when someone or some situation completely usurps my expectations. I think the reason why I enjoy this is because of a lesson I've learned from all of you. Life can't be pinned down. You can't put it in a box. You can't put a person in a box. You can't put any circumstances in a neat and tidy box. It will always spill out. It will always show us something that we're missing. It shows us that we can't tame and manage life, even when we walk around as if we think we could. Again, intellectually, this may not sound like such great news. But in lived experience, it's liberating. It means the smartest thing is to be open, not assume. To be open. I've definitely felt more open since coming to this congregation. Open to relationship, open to love, open to unexpected grace. The annual pledge drive causes me to reflect on all of this. Of course, we want your financial pledge so that we can keep operating. Of course, we want you to return your pledge card ASAP, as soon as possible, so nobody needs to call you and do a lot of extra work. Of course, we want you to give generously. But I think it's good to ask a deeper question. What are we pledging to? Personally. We call it a pledge drive because we make a budget every year based on how much each of you pledges or promises to give in a calendar year. We decide what kind of staffing we're going to have, what kind of programs, whether we can afford to heat the building for Sunday services, etc. It's mundane and pretty straightforward, with little complications. Most people are shocked when I tell them what our annual budget is, the budget we are aiming for to actually run this entire organization. $154,000. Yeah, I see someone shaking their head. $154,000. I've had people audibly gasp when I tell them this number. Your financial leaders run a tight ship. Most of it is staffing, with very little fat. It's a lean budget. Because it's so lean, every dollar really counts. I know some of us are in precarious financial circumstances. If that is the case for you, you are in luck. Thanks to some of the generous donors of this church, we have a fund to help people in this congregation and in our community with rent, heating, electricity, medical bills. The church has supported the community financially wherever we could, especially during this pandemic, and we will continue. That is our commitment. One of our biggest contributions is through the Give Away the Plate program, literally giving away the plate. The church does not make any money from the offertory we take every week unless you specifically designate it to go to us. If you put $20 in the offertory plate or in the chat box on the link, $20 goes directly to that organization. We started doing this a couple years ago because we knew we are mutually dependent on you and on our community. This is true for all of us. Some days you might need us, and we will give you what we have. Many days the community needs us, and we always give generously, whatever we have. I like the language of pledge because it makes me think of promises. Promises we make to ourselves and promises we make to our community. I think there comes a point for some of us when we ask ourselves the question, what kind of person do we want to become? How do we want to live? These are great questions, and I've come to a couple soft conclusions. One is that nobody can live another person's life for them. It may sound obvious, but I think that's important. It means only you are responsible for how you want to live your life. Nobody can live your life for you. Only you can do that. The second conclusion is that though we can only live our own life, though we are ultimately responsible for what we do with it and how we live it, we can gain encouragement from other people to live and respond a certain way to what happens to us. We are always in communities that are influencing us in sometimes subtle, sometimes not so subtle ways. Our families, our workplaces, the city we live in, the nation state. We are constantly getting messages about who we are, what our worth is, and how we should invest our time and energy and money. There comes a time, for some of us, when we decide to be more intentional about that messaging and influence, and desire to surround ourselves with people and a community who can encourage us to be who we wish to be. I think this church is one of those influencers. It's an influence on our life and the culture at large. It may seem at first glance that our influence is small, quite modest. I assure you that's deceptive. I meet numerous people who are inspired by this church, even though they've never stepped foot in this building. Some of those people are with us today on Zoom from all across the world. I've spoken with people who drive by at night just so they can see the light in the cupola. It gives them a feeling of hope. I've spoken with people who have grown up here, who now live all over the world, who contact me because of the work we're doing in partnership for social justice. And honestly, during this time, I get messages that it's just good to have a community in this nation at this time that promotes goodness, healing, wholesomeness, and vision. I think one of my favorite Pledge Drive themes was Pledge It Forward. The idea was that we don't pledge based on what we get out of the church alone, but the benefit we sense someone else would receive that we can offer to them. I think that gets to the heart of it. We don't live for ourselves alone, and our choices have far-reaching impacts. I'm not alive just for myself. I'm alive for all of you. I'm alive for all our neighbors. I'm alive for all the people in this nation, in this world, still struggling through a pandemic, still struggling with racism, poverty, and a spirit of despair. And we're not just alive for this year, this pledge drive cycle. We're alive for those who will inherit the consequences of our choices. And my hope is that we can give them something good to inherit. My hope is that those alive now and those alive in the future will know that they are loved and never truly alone. With that awareness, that embodied feeling, All is possible. I'm no longer afraid, and I no longer worry. I trust that it is not our circumstances alone that create us, but the ways we choose to live in those circumstances. And I want to live with joy. I want to live with purpose. I want to live with gratitude. Gratitude for what I've been given. Gratitude for a life-saving community that was here centuries before I was born. A community I've received as a gift. Gratitude for the life I'm now living with all of you. Feeling what I've believed intellectually, but now I know through lived experience, thanks to all of you, that life is good. There's goodness in life. And that goodness is found in relationship, in covenant, in a commitment to what is worthy. And that commitment begins today with turning in your pledge card. Seriously, it does. I'm so grateful for our stewardship team. They do so much to literally make this community feasible, to provide salary for myself, Kathleen Hogue, and Sarah King. They do so much to keep this place vital and thriving. If you have never pledged before, especially I'm thinking of the people online, and you would like to, please put your name in the chat box, and we will have a conversation with you about how you can do that so that we can keep this alive for the Mahoning Valley and our wider world. Please pray with me. Spirit of love, so grateful to be alive on this day. It is amazing to experience the newness that comes with this day. A time when we are gathering in person, virtually, the way that our lives are being passed on through recordings that are being watched later in ways that we will never fully understand. Thank you for the November chill here in Youngstown, Ohio. We pray that all that are listening to this message today are well and healthy, happy, well-fed, and understand that happiness comes from a connection, a relationship, and a commitment. For those who are having a hard time right now, we pray they know they can use this community as a resource, as a place to get their well filled, as a place to get support for their present and for what's next. All this we pray. Amen.
The fun thing about still being on Zoom is you can participate with a cat on your lap. So Matthew and I extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts until we meet again.
As you depart, please remember the one great fact. You are loved and never truly alone.